Brian, you mentioned something about prices, increasing, and I think just in general, there's, is hyperinflation actually taking place? And Lee, I know you're in the, you deal with a lot of shipping, a lot of logistics in your businesses, and maybe you can give a little bit of insight as to what's taking place right now as it relates to inflation in regards to freight, and giving a heads up to the audience that may not be very sure where things are pointed as it relates to price increases.
Yeah, so I mean, presumably, like the audience that we're dealing with, like contractors, you know, they talk in jobs and materials, right, and in equipment and supplies. And it's one thing. Brian was talking about balancing logistics and planning your year to get it done. It's another that you get there and you don't have what you need to finish it, or you've got a massive, $250,000 job that you've got to get 20 grand worth of lines striped and you can't get paint to do it. So, I mean, the way that the first is, it's a good problem to have lots of work in front of you. So be grateful for that if that's you. But the second point is, going to where Brian's going a little bit deeper into what Brian was saying. If you're looking at the logistics and you're looking at what the rest of your year looks like, you should probably be looking at what your consumables are, what equipment and tools you're going to need well in advance, and make sure that you're securing them. What people don't really think about is that a lot of tools or components for tools or inputs for your equipment are coming from Asia, whether it's China, Japan, or one of the Asian areas. And if you need a line striper and the line striper supplier is on back order for this part, you're not getting that machine. And if you need that machine to get the job done, that's that's your Achilles heel, right? And your supplier and your tools, and whether it's sealer, whether it's crack sealant, whether it's line paint, or whether it's tools or equipment, if you need something to get the job done and you don't have it, that's a problem. So, my suggestion would be, look at what you've got for the rest of the year, break it down into services, look at the tools, equipment, and kind of the critical parts that you can't do without, and make sure that you've got a plan to get those in advance. If cash flow is tight and you don't have the cash in the bank, cash is cheap right now from banks. Capital is at the lowest price ever. Get a line of credit or borrow or whatever else to bring that stuff in, and don't be caught 2 months down the road with say a crappier finish than what you could have because you didn't have paint or you didn't have a tool or this or that. So that's kind of the first thing I would say there. What's driving it? I think when COVID hit, we saw a temporary pause where a lot of companies hit the pause, everybody hit the pause button and said, whoa, where's this going to go? And that pause caused, factories and suppliers to just, everyone did the same thing, slow down, stop making stuff. And that, it's easy to slow down and stop making stuff. Anybody can hit a switch and put their production to 50%, right? Not very hard to do. I think what we've seen this year is that mixed with, a lot of businesses that were closed, like restaurant and service sector, everybody coming on board, obviously government stimulus just lit a fire under the economy. And what you're seeing is everyone react the opposite way. So that overreaction, I believe, is causing an extreme shortage in containers. We don't have enough trucks, or logistics equipment to make up for that, and that's what's caused, rates to basically go through the roof. Like, to give you guys an idea, we deal with a lot of imports from Asia, and containers have gone from $3,500 door to door from Shanghai to Toronto to 24,000, a container, inside of 12 months. It's crazy. Like, it's, you're talking 600%, 700% increases. And those impacts,
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Those impacts haven't really fully made it through the supply chain to consumer yet. So you're seeing some increases. And, when we talk about inflation, it's starting to become clear, in some areas. but it's not fully like it certainly hasn't flushed out. And I think if you have the chance to, if there's major equipment that you want to buy this year, we use cars as an example. Um, Cars are a lot more expensive right now than what they were a year ago. I mean, anywhere from 15, 25%, depending on what you're looking at. Um, that's a lot. I mean, if you're looking at some major purchase for your business, you're going to buy a power paver or something like that, or whatever it might be. 25% on anything is it's a significant amount to go up. So I guess I would say be mindful of what your needs are, and if you've got extra cash, it's a good way to deploy it and making sure that you've got, supplies and products and equipment covered. And if you don't, consider borrowing to bridge the gap, because I don't think that these are going to be short-term things. I think we're likely in for, another 6 to 18 months of this. And I guess the other thing I would say, I don't want to go down a COVID. I don't want to go down the road of COVID here, but nobody really knows when life goes back to normal and what normal means. So, with that, there's going to be instability, and be prepared for it. If you're better off if you're the guy that's got the ability to do the job, than if you're the guy that waited till the last minute and is showing up at a paint store to find out that you can't get paint to do the job that you committed to. So be prepared.
It's so true. We're seeing it at in our company at Asphalt Kingdom. What we're noticing is that there's this new rush right now in the month of August as fall's approaching, and we're seeing this rush where people are coming in and buying a lot of equipment and supplies. They're literally stocking up right. And a lot of people, we have a new funding partner that we're working with called Clicklease, and the approval rates are awesome. So even if the credit's shitty, people are still being approved for it, and they're very, very reasonable too. But I think what you're hitting on a very good point is that right now you have the opportunity to buy at lesser price than what you will experience. There's no doubt that you will experience going into spring of 2022, no doubt. And the facts are right now, after this, as we've gone through the season, we're August now, so you technically should be more flush with cash right now than you would be rolling into March. And so if you're going to make some moves to scale your business and to be able to go into the new year, finish strong, but go into the new year with some really good power punch, you should really be prepping for that now versus later. Because as you said, Lee, it hasn't, all that shipping increase in price and so on and so forth hasn't trickled down the line yet to a lot of the stock that's still sitting on shelves and or in warehouses at previous cost pricing.
Well, and I want to add to that too. I mean, there's two sides of this. One is if your business is fully booked to the year end and you're not going to be able to get every ounce of work done, well, then the focus this year is on yields and, make the best bottom line you can of it, right? Which is, negotiate in and buy bulks of, like, get what you need to get the job done. And if you can save a few bucks now, you're probably going to get a better result in negotiating than you will in 6 months from now. And on the flip side, if you're not full and you're sitting here trying to basically fill up your schedule, this is as great of a time as any to start dialing all your proposals, telling them, look, now's the time. You have capacity, and it's going to get more expensive next year. Like, there's a way to approach this, whether or not you're, completely booked, or whether you're still booking, and there's a win on either angle. But if you are fully booked, 100% at this point, you're going to need the materials and supplies. So it's a game of numbers. If you can shave 5% off of a $500,000 spend, that's $25,000 to year end you're going to save, right? So why not do it?
Yeah,
Brian,
I would add to that, man, that, the whole time you guys were talking there, I was thinking that, when it comes down to resources to get these supplies, the places that you go to get business if you don't have it, this is a perfect example of how valuable your network is, how valuable the people you're connected to and the resources you're able to tap into really are. Because, the group of people that I interact with the most, they are finding ways to get stuff done, right? Versus I interact with a lot of people online, or people DM me asking for help and finding these things that we're talking about. Maybe it's paint or supplies or equipment or whatever it is. And so I think it's more important than ever to be evaluating who you're connecting to and how much time are you investing into those relationships, because those things, not just from an equipment, supplies, and access to things standpoint, but also your network is going to be the difference between you being able to stay focused and mentally tough through this and keep your eye on the prize and really advance forward, and maybe drift off out into, wherever everybody else lies, confused about what to do. So I think it's important to realize that as you're going through these things, do not go through it alone, man. Find your tribe and find the people that can really help you and get you pointed in the right direction.